Well, hello there. I just recently, well, actually yesterday, scored a huge amount of electronics, all kinds of stuff, cables and so on, including this stereo here. Well, I paid a ridiculous price for that, and well, there's a lot of good stuff in it, for example, PlayStation and Atari console, and so on and so on. I love computer gear, and most of it is actually working. But one thing I wanted to focus on right now is this stereo here. Now, it's made by a company called N. That's it. Well, there's nothing really on the back. We can have a look. But yeah, there's no company name on this entire thing whatsoever, and well, it just is a little bit weird. First of all, this thing didn't want to power on. It turned out that one of the fuses had actually rusted. Yeah, there was rust inside the fuse. Probably the company has chosen the cheapest ever fuse that existed, so that it rusts. And yeah. Well, and this thing was actually quite interesting. I mean, look at it. It has got a beautiful case and some pretty beautiful speakers actually. But as always, that's not wood. That is actually plastic. The entire case is made out of plastic. So this is one of those stereos that you'll talk to some people about, that they are absolutely amazing, have insane specs, and you'll just give them for this almost free prize from the back of some guys in a white van. Yeah, I can't find any information for this particular model online, but there is already one thing that gives this entire unit away, that it's just a giant mess of crap. Yeah. Well, first of all, its weight. This entire beast here weighs 1 kilogram, nothing more. You wanna know how much my stereo up there weighs? 5. And that's just the amplifier. So, yeah. I mean, judging from the size, this thing can't weigh 1 kilogram. Or the entire case is made just out of air, which it actually is. But anyways, I want to do a small modification. I mean, this thing does work. I only had to change the fuse. Let's have a quick listen. I will just go through the channels on the radio quickly.
It's now 6:20
in the morning, and I'm headed into.
Just so that you can see that this thing is actually working. And yeah, well, it also seems that this unit has got quite a lot of water damage actually, because there's a lot of rust inside of it. And a lot of these switches aren't really working anymore. For example, the main power switch. That thing at first was stuck, and I thought the switch was actually broken, not the fuse. Yeah. Now, what I want to do with this stereo is, I mean, I think it's a pretty beautiful case. And it's quite sad that it's so cheaply made. This is just pretty awful product. But, I mean, for some weird reason it still has got these German stickers and everything that you see on those very old stuff. It has got some DIN connectors, and this is where your antenna would go. Also, it has got those weird 2 polarity output plugs here, things there, which aren't really that good. But anyways, the stereo is in itself pretty beautiful. I want to reuse the case and just take everything that's in here out and replace it with this. Now this is a quality stereo which I have here, which is currently a little bit disassembled, a little bit messy in here. But this is the stereo of choice that I'm gonna put in there. Only gotta do one modification, because this is just an amplifier. It does not have a built-in AM, FM or whatever receiver. I mean, this thing also has got some more frequencies, but yeah, you're most likely just going to use FM, because yeah, who broadcasts over those other frequencies? But we do have two inputs, or one input, sorry. But since we have 1, 2, 3, 4 switches in total that we can use, and this stereo has got 4 inputs, that will actually just be fine. So I'm going to take everything that's on here and put it in there. But let's just have a look in one of the speakers. I still haven't opened those. You'll later have a look inside this unit, and you'll just see that it's just a complete disappointment. This thing is built as primitive as an amplifier the built-in AM or FM receiver can get. It's just absolutely horrible. So let's just have a very quick look at these absolutely high-end speakers in their awesome plastic casing with no acoustics whatsoever. Seems like those sponges need to be removed. That's not nice. Well, it's a surprisingly big speaker, a 4-ohm speaker, unfortunately. Not that good, but that case can easily be modified to fit one of these and one of these, so that we can have proper audio coming out of the stereo into this thing. So here's the old speaker that I have removed from that case. And I'm really surprised how big it actually is. I mean, this thing is absolutely ginormous. Well, yeah. And here is the new setup. It's currently not mounted in. I'm just testing how they fit best. Here we have the speaker for the lower frequencies, and here is the speaker for the higher frequencies. And that's about how I'm going to install these, just like my regular speakers up there. Of course, these will have some worse acoustics, because, well, I'm not an acoustics guy. I don't design speakers, and, well, yeah, they will just be mounted in like that. So on the stereo, you would have to turn the bass or the treble a little bit up to get the correct audio output, or the correct sound, as you wish. Of course, these speakers will be mounted on some standoffs, not like that, so I can screw them and glue them on there. And I'm going to clean the entire inside of this case out and remove all of that weird brown stuff that has fallen out. Yeah. And for the stereo, well, this is the next thing we're going to look at, and I'll open it up, and you can see it's just pure disappointment. And here we go. This is the stereo completely disassembled. And let's just have a look in here. Here in the front we have a bent power switch, which is way too big. And then we have some circuit boards of pretty bad quality with pretty bad quality parts on them. Those potentiometers all make a very loud noise on the speakers when I turn them. I already tried to clean them, but it doesn't do anything at all. And if we go further, it just looks all the same, and it just doesn't look nice. And I mean, since this is just an amplifier with a built-in FM radio, it's just not much, and well, this is a completely disappointment. I mean, let's have a look at the entire amplifier in here. There we have got all the parts for it mounted on that tiny heatsink, and well, if you can actually call that a heatsink, it just doesn't look nice. This thing probably doesn't have very good thermal capabilities, and well, yeah, it's just a very basic aluminium heatsink. And well, those transistors on there, well, there isn't even thermal paste on there, and they're just bolted on there, so yeah, a lot of heat will just still be in that device and will not be directly transferred into that heatsink. Also, look at this. This is absolutely tiny. Imagine what would happen if I hook up a really big speaker to that. This is the original speaker that came with it. I'm surprised how big it actually is. But imagine what would happen if I would hook up these. These are quality speakers with a pretty high, with 6 ohm impedance. Of course, you'll still got to add the other speakers to that. Then it will be a total of 8 ohms. It will just blow these things up if I have it running on high volume. And the transformer also doesn't look that good anymore. Still a lot of rust in here. If we take a look at all these switches in there, yeah, those have definitely seen a lot better days. And yeah, what I really like is the circuit in here, well, not circuit, actually the construction of the FM, or well, actually the radio dial, that wheel that you turn, that makes all these parts move. That has actually been pretty well made, and I will try to actually reuse that, but only with one frequency, FM of course, because nobody broadcasts on the other frequencies anymore. Well, there are 1 or 2 stations that use AM, but all those other stations that are on here, frequencies that are on here, aren't used anymore. So let's just have a quick close-up. Here we have some trim pots which have a warranty seal on them. Well, it's just a sticker that can be easily removed. And yeah, that's the construction for the switches. Might actually be able to reuse that. Of course, it wouldn't last very long because those springs in there have gotten a lot of rust on them. If you can make that out. And so on and so on. This is the back where the antenna should go. Here we have our weird DIN connectors, which I really don't like. I mean, seriously, who uses DIN anymore? I haven't heard of anyone. And this is where our antennas would go. Doesn't look too good in here. It's just not nice. And it also smells really, really bad. Yeah. Now the only problem that I will have is the balance control on here, which has this slider on here. Now the problem which I will have is well, the balance is in one of these 3D potentiometers, and well, changing that would actually be quite difficult. So I have no idea how I'll be able to manage that with the balance. Also, we have got another headphone output, which I have no idea where I can add that. I really don't want to drill in the front of that case. Still gotta figure the balance thing out, how I'll do that. Probably I'll just make a hole in the side of the case or the back. Of course, it's a little bit ridiculous to put those things on the back. And here we have our fuse holder. There we go, it can be removed by one screw. And what I'll actually really want to do is to take all the fuse holders that are on here, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and actually put them all there in the back. And of course I'll do some sealing so that nothing can spark over and yeah, make a short circuit or anything. Hope those gaps are enough. Or I just make a complete replica of that thing and just modify it. What I don't really know if I'll do that is these speaker outputs, which I have got here. If I'll actually keep them or exchange them for this. Probably that would be a huge Probably this would be a lot better. These simple things where you just stick your cables in and press it down and let it go. And yeah, I mean, just look at the size difference in this thing. This amplifier compared to a proper quality stereo amplifier, this is just absolutely ridiculous. But anyways, yeah. But it looks good with the power switch. If we have a look at here, it seems that the screw holes are the same apart as we have here, the plastic says, and yeah, I'll just take everything that's in here out and put all that in there. Probably have to make myself a custom thing or so with the 3D printer again to mount these input jacks on the back, because I'm definitely not going to reuse this. I really don't like those DIN connectors. They are pretty awful. Yeah. So that you just have an overview of the construction of this thing, which is actually quite bad. And just for those curious ones, here's the bottom side of the board. At first glance it doesn't look too bad, but let's have a closer look at the traces in here. I could seriously scratch that ground trace off with my fingernail. It's so thin. Those traces are the thinnest I've ever seen. And this is not a quality circuit board. It's the worst quality I've ever seen, actually. Worse than those Chinese boards. Well, you see new things every day. Interesting. Okay, well, this looks like a complete mess, but I have actually made some changes in my plan. And the problem is size. This amplifier, which I'm currently trying to put in this old one, is a little bit too big. So there will unfortunately have to be some large modifications, including the front panel. Now, I actually wanted to reuse this panel, but as it turns out, that's not going to be possible. First of all, since the slider, and I didn't want to do any modifications to this. Also, I don't have enough room for the radio. So this thing will then eventually just turn into an amplifier and nothing else. Now, it still isn't finished, as you can see. Well, I just am currently laying out the parts and seeing how well they fit where. And it seems like I can't really reuse the things that are here in the back. Now, initially I wanted to reuse this holder here, this fuse holder and the speaker connector, because, well, if we have a look at it, it fits in there pretty nice. The problem is the speaker connector doesn't fit in there with all the fuses next to it. So what I'm eventually going to do is make a new one with a new input for the cable, which won't be too difficult to make. That will have the fuse type that you can easily screw on there and screw back off. So you just stick your fuses in there and so on. And we'll have this thing probably easily next to that. So that's probably gonna work out just fine, and will be definitely a lot smaller than this thing. Hopefully. And I'll manage to fit everything on there. Still figuring out how to actually 3D print that, since yeah, I'm not going to reuse the thing itself. And eventually I will have to make some modifications to the back of the case, which is here, since the speaker output connector, well, it's a little bit bigger than the entire thing, so yeah, I'll have to make a cutout actually in there, unfortunately, but, well, since it's the back of the unit, nobody's gonna look at it. But everything as it is currently does fit. I only have to cut the holders for the heatsink off, those are a little bit too long and stand out of the back. Trying to figure out how to do that without making a giant mess. And yeah, that's it. Have to make my own custom front panel. Should be easy enough to do. Just 3D print it, then 3D print a next layer. And the last layer, or the ultimate layer, will just be one that I will print out on these transparent plastic and stick it above that. Easy as that. Or I'll print it out on paper and then put the plastic above it, which makes more sense. But yeah, this is how it currently looks. It's a little complete mess right now. Of course, the circuit board will have to go 1 centimeter up, because now it's currently laying pretty weird in there. And yeah, holders and everything and spaces should fit in there nice and easily. The transformer will also be mounted on the board. And yeah, that's basically it. I couldn't reuse any of the currently existing holes, and I'm trying as hard as I can not to cover those up. So of course I don't have to cut into the lid just so the lid can go back on there. Only thing that will be different is the front panel, which then will just stick in by itself and not be screwed on anymore. Or maybe I'll actually be able to screw it back on. No idea. But yeah, it shouldn't be too difficult.